Very good evening and welcome to BCN News. Leading our bulletin tonight, the Manatua cable is expected to be commissioned early next year. BCN journalist Esther Pavihi with this report.
Telecom Niue spokesperson Roily Pavihi says that the work will begin on the landing station for the Manatua cable after the arrival of the equipment and containers on the 14th of this month.
The trenching across the reef is halfway through, and trench work from the road up to the actual landing site on top of the hill is completed. We are currently waiting on the 14th of October boat for the cable landing station to arrive, and looking at the 27th of November to start the 27th of November for the cable ship to land and start pulling the cable up to the site. And we're looking at the mid of December for all the installation to be completed on site, and early January to February we'll be looking at testing the cable, and all the testing results will depend on when we can actually go live, which we are forecasted for June 2020. These are the actual forecasted dates with the contractors, and so far all the dates have been met and all the timelines are on schedule, and we appreciate all the contractors who've been working for the project for keeping things on time. And also we need to be aware that we're heading on to the cyclone season, and the dates for November and January may be affected due to rough seas. So we have already planned on a contingency if any of these happens, but we're still trying to forecast and get everything ready by the dates that we have been forecasting.
On the issue of cost, Telecom Niue says this is still under negotiations with the relevant parties involved. They also would like to remind the public to be careful when driving through the landing site at Sekena at Makefu.
The costing at the moment, we are talking with all the concerned parties for the bandwidth that's going to be allocated and all the pricing. It is not one of the easiest negotiations to go through, as we all know it's a high-speed internet, and we need to plan accordingly and set up prices accordingly that should be able to benefit our island and the people, and also our company Telecom. Advise also the public about safety on the site. There have been numerous complaints from the contractors that their site have been accessed publicly by some people, and some of their signs and their cones that have been put up have been played around with, and we will appreciate it if the public can adhere to the signs and follow the warnings that have been put up. But other than that, we would like to thank everyone who has been involved and those who have been listening and following all the instructions for the site.
The Manatua cable installation for the 5 Polynesian countries continues to be of top interest to its beneficiary countries. This was top of the agenda when the Cook Islands Prime Minister Henry Puna met with Niue's Premier Sir Toke Talangi and his cabinet last week to discuss matters of common interest and cooperation, both bilateral and regional perspectives. The Manatua cable will provide internet connections from Apia, Samoa to Toahutu, Tahiti, with branching units for landings to Niue, Aitutaki, Rarotonga and Bora Bora. This is Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
Acting Premier Billy Talangi has challenged tourism ministers in the Pacific region to commit to working together, forging new partnerships and strengthening old ones to realize the full potential of Pacific tourism. Talangi was speaking at the 29th Council of Tourism Ministers meeting today. Acting Premier Billy Talangi officially opened the meeting this morning and chaired the meeting with the theme Sustainable Tourism, Our Future. Talangi told the delegates that having recently celebrated World Tourism Day 2019, it is an opportune time to reflect on just how important tourism is to our Pacific region. Tourism, he says, is one of the world's fastest growing industries, And here in the Pacific, it is no different. Pacific tourism in 2018 generated over 3 million air and cruise passengers, $3.8 billion in tourism earnings, employed more than 130,000 tourism employees, and contributed 11.2% to Pacific GDP. He says it is evident that the potential for tourism in the Pacific is indeed promising and must be treated with great responsibility and importance. Talangi says this is a special meeting for Niue because we are celebrating China-Pacific Tourism Year 2019, also known as CPTY 2019. This initiative was announced to Pacific leaders at the APAC Economic Leaders Meeting in Port Moresby in November 2018 by Chinese President Xi Jinping and was officially launched in Samoa in April 2019. CPTY 2019 is aimed at establishing innovative partnerships with the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of China and other relevant stakeholders. Since its inception, Talangi says CPTY 2019 has provided valuable opportunities like promoting a better understanding of China and the Pacific and vice versa, raising the visibility of the Pacific brand in China through trade familiarization visits, platforms for market research, and training programs for Pacific Island representatives. And the chairman of the South Pacific Tourism Organization, David Vaiafi, says that the organization must remain relevant and responsive to the current environment. He told BCN News that it should also evolve with the changing environment globally and regionally.
As a regional organisation, we need to have a clear airline strategy for the region. You know, we're dealing with multiple players here, and that's very difficult too because, you know, these are national airlines for various countries, and there are bilateral agreements and aviation agreements in place, and you know, and so forth. And you know, tourism, aviation is the key to everything. Without the airlines, we will have no industry and so forth. So, for us, it's being getting together with the key players and putting together a strategy for moving forward and identify, you know, potential growth areas and what we can do. And for some countries, you know, who have no airlines, who are, you know, reliant on other carriers, like American Samoa, we have no national carrier, but we rely on 2 airlines from Samoa and Hawaiian Airlines from the US. So, and Niue relies on Air New Zealand, you know. So the airline environment has changed in the last 20 years. You know, Polynesian Airlines is no longer. It used to service, you know, Niue. That was the last time I was here, was on Polynesian Airlines. You know. So we need to ensure that we remain relevant, that we're working with the right people and the right players in the sector, and as an organisation partnering with, you know, airline organisations of the region and so forth to make it happen.
David Vaiafi, who is also the director of the American Samoa Visitors Bureau, said that air access remains a key challenge for small tourist destinations, like the majority of the members of SPTO.
Like everything, an organisation has to evolve with the changing environment. So we're working with our members to reinvigorate the organisation, you know, make it sustainable for the long term. You know, it's been going on for 30 plus years. We need to ensure it continues, but it needs to be relevant. It needs to be relevant for its members, you know, relevant to the changing environment globally and regionally.
The board of the South Pacific Tourism Organization met yesterday as the lead-up to the 29th meeting of the Tourism Ministers meeting today. Former Member of Parliament for Mutalau, Hafe Vilitama, who passed away on Saturday last week, was laid to rest yesterday at Mutalau. He was 90 years old.
The funeral for the Honourable Hafeiki Vilitama, MNZOM, was held yesterday at the Mutalau Ecclesia Church, Fupiu, Talamitaki. The church service was conducted by his grandson, Reverend Dr. Matangi Vilitama, with the village pastor and the vice president of the Ecclesia Niue, Reverend Nuka Tawevihi. The church overflowed with mourners attending the service to pay their last respects to the tupuna. The eulogy was delivered by his granddaughter and current Member of Parliament for Mutalau, the Honourable Maureen Melekitama. Hafe Vilitama started his career as an educator, as a 14-year-old teacher aide for the School of Kofi. He later went on to become the deputy principal of the school, and in 1966 he became the headmaster of Lealangi Primary School at Wakepa. He was also acting principal for Matalawe Primary School in 1972 at Tuapa. He was Niue's first local Niuean director for the Department of Education in 1978 until early retirement at the age of 55 in 1985. The late Hawhiwili Tama served 39 years in the education sector, and the Education Department yesterday recognized this by closing the 2 schools. He was also the Ulumotua or head deacon of the Ecclesia of Mutalo for many, many years. Acting Premier, the Honourable Pili Talangi, representing the Niue government, presented the Niue flag in recognition of Hawhiwili Tama's 12 years in the Niue Legislative Assembly as the member for Mutalo. He served 4 terms from 1987 to 1999. He is survived by his beloved wife, Mrs. Etiwili Tama, their children, grandchildren, and many, many great-grandchildren. This is Esther Pavihi for BCN News.
New 200,000-litre water tanks for Lakeapa and Tuapa are expected to be installed this month. PMCU confirms the installation of tanks are scheduled for October 2019 freighter. The installation of reticulation network is scheduled for October and November and will be commissioned in December 2019. Problems with water from the reservoir tanks at Lakeapa and Tuapa had been an ongoing issue for some time now. PMCU states additional tanks, 9 more to be installed after funding is confirmed. PMCU states additional tanks, 9 more to be installed after funding is confirmed. It also states they are currently seeking additional funding. And finally, there's not been much progress on the proposal to include Wangahau Niue taught in universities in New Zealand. This is according to Dr. Colin Tukuitonga, who is a key figure in the move to revive Wangahau through tertiary education.
It's very slow. Universities are by definition conservative institutions, right? It takes forever to do anything. So having said that, we're still hopeful that something will happen. So far, nothing. It's just one of the things that we're wanting to push. I think the USP experience of having the Wangahau is an important precedent, but effectively nothing so far in New Zealand. There's still a few of us trying to work our way at it.
And that's BCN News for tonight. Thank you for joining us. Do join us, same time next Monday. Until then, have a safe weekend.